Yes, so yesterday we were here. So we had this application of ours and we created some couple of APIs. Like the first one was test. I think we had student, an API to list for us the number of students. So on our previous table not found eduspace.student, probably is because of my breakfast seed. Let me see, probably it's because of maybe migrations didn't work. So here we had the APIs to list the various number of students. I didn't really check why. Did you guys try to check why our menu wasn't working? Why our REST client wasn't working? Probably there must be a problem somewhere, because this one was supposed to work. Let's see, for list student it works, and then for this one didn't work. For post for posts didn't work for some reasons. Name does not have a default value. For some reasons this one didn't work. All right, let me see if I can fix this, because I think, yeah, that's how JavaScript is supposed to be. So let me see. Content type, let me do this, and then I say accept and post to this. Let me just try some couple of options. Should not be complaining, but let's see. So let's go to this student controller and see. Student controller, under students we have this store, create request. Let me try return this request and see. Let me just try and return this and say this one, I return the request. Just confirm everything is working. Let me see. So the request doesn't have anything. So this one doesn't pick anything. So probably because of this, we'll just have to use Postman, but there's no problem. So we can just keep using Postman. So that was just an alternative which failed to work. But I've used it more than one time. I don't know why it's not working. I don't want us to waste a lot of time trying to debug that. So just make sure you have Postman or Insomnia. There's also another app called Insomnia HTTP. But for now, let's go with Postman. So just have Postman installed in your machine. So you can download that from postman something, I think. Yeah, so just have this one, download Postman and then install Postman, so that we just use this one once. So that's cool. So in here, having these, I have this collection created. You can create a collection by clicking on this add, and then you rename these. You make it the name that you want for that particular connection, for a collection. Sorry. So I have my collection created. So what I'll just do, I need to add these requests here. Adding requests, you just tap on this collection and then you tap on add a request. So once we create a request here, like let's say http localhost, then it was in turn, then API, then slash API, then slash student. So if we do a get request to that, It should take us to students. So this is not HTTPS because it's localhost. Let's see, let's set these headers. We say content type. So content type helps tells this API that whatever I'm supplying to the endpoint should be a JSON data, and whatever I'm accepting back also should be I'm expecting a JSON. So I'm also expecting to get a response which is JSON. That's basically what the headers are doing. So this one is complaining localhost intern. Was it internship or intern? Let's see. It was intern. Let me just confirm. So this was, you can confirm on your API. This one was, where was it? It was intern slash API, yeah. So or also you can copy from here without wasting a lot of time. So this one is to get the students. So this one should display all the students that you're having. That's a get request. So I can save these as I'll save it in the internship folder. You can create that folder, and then I say get student. So probably that's the best way to save it. Yeah, so this is my get student. So I also want to let's modify this post student, where we are posting the student name, address, and whatever the details that we're having for a student. So we can try this out and see. So this one we were posting a student and then replying with all the students that we added. Yeah, so it gives us the last result in here. So you can also add a score. Yeah, you can add a score, say 25. You can add wherever other fields that you're having. But now I don't want to receive all these. The way we'll be doing it, we will be receiving only the created field. So the easiest way of doing that is coming back to this part where we are storing the student. Then instead of getting all the student, we can return these. So what you just need to do is you can find the latest student, and then you just say student dot. You can even use where or the latest. I think there's a key called latest. But get, let's try that. Let's try. You see, it can't kill us. The only thing it will tell us there's an error in that statement. So let's just try and see. Duplicate entry. So this, remember this, now remember this, we said this name should be unique. That's why it's complaining that we have a duplicate entry. So we'll handle that in a minute. So let's just put this on 8. It's called form validations. So we will do form validations in a few. Yes, so so this one didn't work. So if we say get latest, let me just try. I'm just trying things which I know worked at some point, but don't worry, this is just my test. I just want to confirm something, but don't worry, that one didn't work. So that's it. So let me just do the easiest way. The easiest way is just, you can say order by, and then you can just say order by. You can order by ID because ID is incrementing, and then we say it should be go into a descending order. So that's how you're using the order by. And then this is like you can say first is like setting a limit and say limit is equals to 1 in SQL statements. So that one should create for us that field and then add 1. So let me say this one, I add this, I add that, and then I try to add. So that basically will create this number 9, and then it will give me number 9 as the latest one. It's not the best way to do that, but the easiest way and quicker way of doing that. So you just create this new field, you just store this data, and then find the latest first, the latest that you just created, and then display it. So if I create a new student, I'll be able to get a message, and then I get a new student. Also, this data, notice that we are just having a status and data. We need also to have a message, like say we have a message here telling us maybe student created successfully, something like that, so that whenever we create this data, whenever we create this student, you can have this message here, student created successful. Now let's do validation, because if I try now to add this again, you find that it won't go through, but we are getting an error which exploits, or which gives out our some data which are not very nice, like giving this error back is not secure for our services or our servers. So giving all these field names and whatever, this is not okay from our end. So we need to validate and give a proper error wherever this appears. So that's where now we will be doing form validations. I'll show you, there's a number, thousands of way of doing form validations, but I'll just give you one way of doing it. Yeah. So this is form validation. So form validations, how it works is you can just validate this request. Let me show you one way, and then you find out the other ways, because there are a ton of ways to do this. So how I do validations is I just say that request, and then I say validate. I just validate that request. Then in here, you'll see also when you go to documentation, you'll find out these validations. So if you go to Laravel documentation, it's good if I show you from the documentation, Laravel docs. So in here, you can search validation, form validation, no? Or even you can go down here. I think you'll find it somewhere. Is it in the basics? Request validation, something like that. This is how we are creating the request. There's validation here. Yeah, validation. I think that's it. So this validation will give you that. Yes, so you can see such as like this. So when you read this section for validations, you'll see all those things that I'll be talking about in a few. So you just go check out how we validate different stuff, how we add custom messages and whatever. But I want to take you in a shortcut. So validation, for example, here, what you do, you just create this array of rules that you want. So we call this one rules. So rule number one is name, for example. So you can say name. What about name? Name, first I want it to be a string, only a string. So no numbers or no any other type of data types or dates or whatever. I just need them to be a string. And then you can add multiple validation by using these mark. I don't know what is the name. Kindly find the name. I think it's pipe or something like that. So find the name of these special key. So in string, I want the first rule to be, let the name be string, and then let it be required, so that if you try to supply without the name field, it will complain about being required. And then I can add blah blah blah, multiple rules. So for example, let's try this out. So for example, let me try here to supply a number. Let's just try and see. Student created, so this number also is registered as a string, but let me try without the name. You see how required will work. Yeah, so let's preview. Yep, so there's something here on this header. That's why it's giving us some funny data. Remember to add this accept here, the JSON accept, and the content type. If you see your data, your responses are coming in a very much bad way, or some even don't come, like that, validation is because of this. So if you don't set these headers, you'll find that your validation won't be showing in a nice way. For example, this way, you'll find that it's showing us the home page. It's trying to redirect. But if we tap on this, if we set the headers, more so this one, for the accept. Yeah, if we set the content type, that's for incoming. You see, so if I don't set the accept, it won't really give me the data back in JSON. So this is it. So for example, I have the message, the name field is required. That means we have now this custom message, and then this custom message also we can give it more, like you see this one is unprocessed and content. So the error code is not 200. I also need you to learn a bit about error codes. I'll handle that in another tutorial. So you can just say http error codes, and then you'll see what each codes means. Yeah, for example, we have a slide here, like error 100 means you continue, blah blah blah. Any error code lying within 200 means okay. So there's okay, there's created, there's accepted, so learn to use these http error codes. For 400 bug, the entire range, this one will give you the not found proxy authentication. So this 400 goes for errors, then internal server errors and server errors goes to 500. So learn how to use these. For example, if you're having a bad gateway, if you're having a loop, maybe if you're having a in such cases, so just learn how to use those error codes on the proper way. But more so we'll be using 200 for these common error codes in doing our application. So right now we are getting, as you can see, we are getting a 422, that's unprocessed content. So if you go to 422 here, 422, you'll find there's something to do with unprocessable entity. Or if you have maybe unsupported media type, blah blah blah, you can write the various error codes, standard error codes. So also this one we can format this error code and also add an error code here, because you see now we have message and errors. For errors, there's no data, so instead of data we are giving back the errors. And for if it's a success, we'll give data, message, status code, and data. So that one you can format it, but I'll show you how to do that. So let's go here. So here we have this as required. Also there's one thing, if the name exists, we want it to give us a not to accept. So you can say also this name is unique, and also you can specify it's unique in which table. For example, if you want it to be unique in a different table, let's say teachers, we say the student name and teachers should be the same. So you can just say the table name is teachers, and then the field that we want to validate is maybe teacher's title. So the student title, the student name and teacher's title should not be the same, or should be unique. Or also you might say exist, you want a student name who exists as a teacher. You can say this one exists. This one mostly is when you're doing relationships, when you'll be doing you're linking a table, maybe you want to add here course ID, and you want it to exist in a course table as ID. So you just say maybe here, let's say, let me use a nice example. Let's say I have a course, I have something called course ID. We'll create that, or class ID. We want this one to be class ID. So if I'm having this field in my student table, I can say class ID is equals to exists. We say this one exists in the class table as what? So in the class table, we'll have a field maybe called ID. So you just check this. So in case you supply a class ID which doesn't exist in the class table, this one will give you an error. So that's an example of it. So let's add this one as unique. So if it's unique on the same table name and the column name, you don't have to specify unique and then you give any other data. You just say this name is unique in this table, and that's it. Let's go to the next one. Next one, there's something also, we needed an address. So address, we can also say this one is just a text or a string, and then we say this string is required. That's it for the table, for the address. Yeah, we're saying address. That's it. So that's form validation. So basically this form validation, you'll be doing it in, you'll be finding it in all the APIs that I create. I usually do those form validations in a way that if you don't have the right data type, you'll find there is an error. So for example here, let's register a student called John Doe. If I register the first time, you'll find there is a validation rule, requires at least one unique. So this unique requires at least one parameter. Let's see. So unique, I think it's done unique. Then you give the table name, yeah. So I can skip the column name because it's the same table. Yeah. So you can see right now we are having a student called, because now if I pull all the students, you'll find we have a student called John Doe, student ID 4. So it will give us a message of the name has already been taken, yeah. So that means our unique rule didn't go through. That's it for validations. Let's move to the next topic now. So let's complete this API. I told you to complete previously, but also we can just complete together. So in update, you find this one. You can also add validation rules for update, but this one probably you don't need to add it there because it will keep complaining. And then you can say now this one, find the student ID. I showed you where the ID is coming from, and also there are ways which you can easily have this done. For example, I'll show you that in the advanced level. Let me not confuse it now. Is that now just use this ID, because there is a way. If this student is coming as, you'll find there's a key being added here called student. So you can just use this key automatically and say that key here. You just say student. You can just say here, if you just say student and you just say this, you just put this student. So you can just, instead of finding, if you say student, because this key already exists, instead of finding here, you can just go directly and say student. So you can just use this and say student.update. But let me show you the default one first. The same way we were doing, we are just finding that and updating it. So let's try update one of these. So on return, I want it to return the same kind of data. But now I'll not keep on repeating. Like for example, right now I'll have to repeat this and say return response is equals to resource. Let me try this. Let's try updating a student. Let's say this student John Doe, call them let's first save this. Let's save it as post student. Let's say this is post student. Yeah, so let me delete this, or maybe I can just continue with this. Now this one, let's say I want to update a student. So remember the update API has this /id. So there's something we need to like add here, because if I go to list, let me say PHP artisan root list. You'll find that if you're doing root list, there's this student, the key that is being added on our auto-generated routes. So you'll find I want to do this update, this patch. So initially this API is created with a parameter student. So I need to pass this parameter. The same comes to if I want to get one student, I'll have to pass their ID. If I want to delete one student, I'll have to pass their ID. Such is it. Yeah? So you must know that definitely this ID is coming from this URL which is being added here. So we'll do other custom APIs, so we'll not be passing this. I'll just show you with one more API on how we do it. So let's go. So you'll find that, let me try this first, it works, and then I tell you something about formatting. So let's say I get all these students. I want to update this student called John Doe, student ID 4. So I'll just come here and say student ID 4. This John Doe, just this name, say it's updated. This address, let's change it to Kisumu CBD, Kenya. let's try updating these students. So this one won't be post, it will be patch or put. But now remember, we are using Postman to pass this request. So if Postman we use it with put or patch, it won't pass this data into the form. So you'll find a lot of REST client won't be doing that, which is I don't know if it's a bug on Postman or they like it the way it is, but I think that's the way it's supposed to be. So what we usually do, we just do post, and then here we add the method. We just specify and say I want this method to go as patch or put. So if you just specify this and put it as post, that's when now you can get this data sent to with your form data. But without this, your data won't be sent. So it just go as patch, but it won't send your data. So this is post. So if we do this, you'll find that it will now this one is creating. So in update we said update this student.find this one update, and then we need to return these we need to return this resource, the updated resource, and then returning the updated resource, we say this one is updated. Let's see. So we said this is John Doe. Let's see. So probably our method didn't, the student updated successfully, it went through, but now it didn't update our name, right? Didn't update our name. Why? Probably I see, because this one I'm creating an array, and then if you call, you see, like for example here, if you say request.all, already this is an array, so you don't need to open and close it using this. So this is a bug we created. So just remove this, remove that from your request, and then let's try again. So you'll find that this one is supposed now to update these records. So John Doe updated, and the address is updated. So we have done that update API. So you can save this, you can save as update student or patch student. So that's our API for update student. And then we can do one for show student. So if you want to get this student number 4 only, so that will go, let's check. So this one show getting one student, it will go to show method. And remember, I think we deleted our show method. So what I just need to do is just creating it again. So let's do it. When we had these methods, I think we deleted that. So let's just create this method again. We say public function, function show, and then this one will now pick our student as the ID. And then once we pick that, this one we should be able to find this and return it back. So just copy some response from this. Just copy one response here. This is the last time I'm copying that response. On the next one, I'll show you what we'll do using helpers and traits. So we have this student ID. We are expecting it to come out of that. So in here, we just say resource. Our resource is equals to student. Student, then find or fail. You can also say just find only if you're sure that will appear, but find or fail will at least give you an error whenever we don't find these items. So these ones are called eloquent what are they? Eloquent methods or what? Yeah, find it out on the documentation. I can't remember the name. So student found, something like that. So after you found these, return this one student. So that's for the show. I'm just doing this, the remaining API, to just show what you are supposed to do or what you are supposed to be having right now. So if you say this is a get request and get student number 4 and send it, so this data is not required. So we are not supposed to send any form data because we are doing a get request. So you'll find that this one, it will fetch for me student number 4. If I say I want student number 5, for example, it will find me student number 5. If you say I want student number 1, so that's what is called, this what we are doing is a complete tutorial on APIs. So I'll show you now how to use these on Vue.js as we complete our course. So that's it. So this one you can save it. Let's save this as maybe show, rename it to show student. I'll give you also this Postman collection later on. So after that, we can do also delete. So we can do one for delete. We can save this one as we say delete, and then we do one for delete. So one for delete, how we'll be doing it, this request should be delete. Just set it to delete, and then this one will need to pass one record. But then let's look on our function if it's doing the right thing. So this one will find a student for the supplied. Also remember, this delete has this student as a parameter, so that will come here as the ID. So the student ID will say pick this student ID, find or fail, and then destroy, and then we need some response. Now let me just complete it. So that I don't confuse you in the middle. Let me just first complete this. So I'll just say this one return, this one student deleted successfully, and then under this you say response.json. You can return that student who has been deleted. That's fine. So let's try. So if, for example, let me get all the students. If we get all the students, you get 1 2 3. So let's remove this Alex Bill. Let's delete Alex, who is ID number 1. So if we pass ID number 1 and delete too few arguments from the function destroy resource.destroy. How do we delete? Let me just remind myself on Google. Laravel delete. Delete. Let's do eloquent. You just say find this raw data dot delete. You don't use destroy. Yeah? So I think the method name is the one which is called destroy. Yeah, the method name is destroy. This one is delete. Yeah? The function itself, the helper function for eloquent delete is delete, not destroy. Sorry for that. So let's go back onto our Postman and check. So once I tap on that, it will delete this student number Alex, and then it will give me that. So if we fetch all the students again, you'll find it's minus Alex. So the ID starts from student number 2 3 4 5, and that's how you do a delete. So if this delete doesn't found any item, it will just tell you no query result for blah 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 blah. That's why you're having find or fail. But also this, remember this exception, you can find the exception here, the exception name, and then go add it on handler. That's why I was talking to you about error handling. So let's try that. Let's go to the error handler, exception handler. Where is it? Exception handler, and then we listen to one. Yeah, that one you can do it later. Let me just try if it will work pretty quick. Let me just, the way I was telling you, copy this. Sorry for this, and then pick this one, pick this name on the Postman, and then say I want this exception. You have to say that and then import it. So this exception, and then format now this response. Say I want it to return, in case of that error, just return a response .json. Let me import this response so that at least I'm sure. So it was illuminate support facade, and then you say JSON, and then in this JSON you say maybe we want it to bring us a status of 404 or a code. This one you can call it status or code. I don't know what this one they are calling it status. So status is nice. Say status 404 not found. And then message you say message is our custom. Our custom not found error example. Yeah, and then here you can even add your metadata and say maybe meta this item was maybe author. You can say your author, maybe it's Samson Anami, for example. That's how now we want our response to be. Let's test it out and see if we'll get what we expect. Yeah, so let's try this. Let me do this and see. So this one doesn't handle it. Register reportable function. Let's check on how you're supposed to do this on oh, okay. So also this error, at least I'm supposed to pass an error. I told you this request needs some error. So if I forgot this, we'll have to remind ourselves because it's a bit important for error handling. This one usually you find that it really disturbs a lot of people. So let me just find it in a second here. I say I'll just go to documentation and say error handler, error handling, the basics. Let's go here and see. So on error handler, reportable invalid exception, you need to register. Which step are we failing to implement? Yeah, I think there's something we are forgetting. I think there's something we are forgetting. Let me just try find it out in a second. If we don't, we'll just move on. Yeah, else I'll have to renderable. Let me try it as renderable. We just see. Can't remember this. Last I was using Laravel 7, I think, and we were having to stop this at some point. But let me just try and see. Yeah, sure. So this one I don't know the reason, but you can research it out. I think it's not reportable, but you just do renderable so that it stop at that. Probably I just find a reason why we are using that. It's here on documentation, so you can just read this bit. Yeah, because of time I'll not. So by default, the Laravel exception handler will convert exception into HTTP responses. Blah, blah, blah. Just read this and understand. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to mean. So this is how we write custom errors in Laravel, so that you just avoid giving out your server details for security reasons. Because if you don't have these, and then an item is not found, for example, it gives more information than what we need. Yeah, it will tell people that you're using Laravel. It will tell them where the error is coming from. It will expose some of your files. It will tell them this is a blah 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 blah, so much detail. So to avoid all these, also something which a user can't understand or something like that, you can now create your error handlers. So we have done error handling, and that's the end of error handling. So at least you know how to handle errors. So that's it. Now let's move to the next stage. So that was error handling. We're done with that. Now let me try to format these. You see these responses that we are doing that each time we have to repeat this format. So if you forget, like for example, if you forget an A here, that means your API won't be standard. So to make it standard, we might use something what we call a trait. And so to do a trait, I'll just so first here we completed all our APIs. So now I want to introduce something called traits. Traits, it's written as traits, yeah, traits, something like that. So this one, they're just like helper functions. So maybe you can just go through it. Maybe you can find it. Everything is here on documentation. So if you just even look for traits, everything you're supposed to find them. Traits. So you can know how to do traits in Laravel. I think we'll have one here where we create traits or something like that. But yeah, find it out. I'll just not waste time on documentation, but rather on showing you what's supposed to be done. So let's go. So I'll take you through how we create a trait, and just a second. Yeah, so how we do a trait, we just first create. So what are traits? Let me just open this pretty quick. Just say traits in Laravel. We just understand what traits do and how they are used. Traits are a collection of reusable methods. So basically it's just like the way we can have helper functions. So traits are some of the reusable is just like creating reusable functions that we will use within our apps. to be doing, to avoid to do a dry code. Yeah, you know, dry code means don't repeat yourself. So dry code, in order to achieve a dry code, at some point we'll need to use traits. Those are a collection of reusable methods that are accessible in multiple classes. Yeah, so that's what we call traits. So how we do it is, how will it help us in our application? Like, instead of me repeating these blah 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 the way I've shown you, instead of me doing those errors, I can just simply do traits. So how we do traits is, you go inside this app folder, and then you create a folder called traits. Just create a folder called traits, and then inside it, now that's where you can have now your traits created. So you can create a class. So this one also, I think it can be done by I'm not sure, by Laravel artisan. Let me just confirm. Don't remember if that was possible. Let's just try php artisan. Let's try delete this folder and see if it will create for us. Yeah, let me just confirm. I think there was an artisan command, make trait API response. Let me, because that's what I want. Artisan. Let me just confirm is this one. Make trait, make model, make, nothing like that. So we just have to create it. Okay, yeah. I think it wasn't on artisan, so sorry for that. We just have to do the manual way. So just create this folder called traits, and then inside traits, this is now where you'll be creating you create your file. I want this to be called API response, because I want to format the API response.php. So how these traits works is, you just create a trait. So this class, you just create a trait class. We just say this is trait, but first you need to start as PHP and then say trait. Just create this trait class. I think there was a way we were creating this trait. Probably it's just I'm forgetting, but just find it out. I think there is a way, but you can just do it manually. So I'll just create this trait class with this modifier, and then say this is API response. This is what the name I want to call it. Then we can add a namespace for it. Just make sure it's there. So this one will be app, it's inside app, and then / traits, to just specify where it is in our application. And that's it. So I've created this class. Now what do I want it to do? So for example, for a success, I'll just create a public method public function, function. Maybe say I have a success response. Yeah, I have a success response. So this success response, I'll be expecting some of the things. For example, I need to receive a data. I need also to receive a message. I want to receive a message also, and then message, and then do we receive a code or a status? Yeah, sure, we can say we want also to receive a status. Add this one as a variable. We want to receive a status, then out of that we continue. Now what do we want to do with this? So this one is the only thing that will help us return this. So I want to just pick this and return whatever we are having here. For example, let's go to the first one. Whatever I was having here, this return. So instead of returning this, I'll be returning this using this trait. So I'll just say return this one. But now, instead of returning this, I'll now say this response. Let's import it. I say this is person, then return data. Data is data. I want it also to return a message here. So message is this message, and then status should be status, and also I want the status to be status for that response. like this one, what is coming out in Postman. You see this, to set this, you need to specify after the response here, after you say JSON response, you say comma, and then you add the status to make sure it comes out as the exact status. So let's use this first function here onto our first API. So our first API was this get students. So you see how it's coming, status and then data. So I want to format it now. So let's do that. So to format it, you just come to here on API response. First, you need to use that inside this class. You need to use that trait. So you just say use API response, this class. So once you use it, it's like you're incorporating it in here onto this class, so you can call their methods there. So instead of returning these, you can just say return. So you can say return these, because now it's part of, because we have used this API response. So you just say this dot success response. So under this success response, you can see it expects data, message and status. So you can just say the data is here, and then the message is students found, and then the code, status code is, let's try give it for 2, for example, so that we see the difference. We say that's for 2, so that one will come into this class and then give the status here and the status here. So let's test it out. So let's run it. So you'll find that once we API app traits API response not found. Let's see. Let's see, why is it not found? What are you forgetting? That should be there. And this one should be there. API traits. Let me see the namespace. API app traits. Let me see, why is it not found? So let me just see. Probably there's a way of creating Laravel traits. Let's just confirm. App trait, you call this trait. Do you call it trait? Yeah, sure. You called it trait, and then you created that. So you see how a trait is created. There is no specific command. Create a folder on Laravel and add file, use a trait in there, blah blah blah. So that's what we did. We just created this trait folder, and then API response trait. Then we created this. So why is it complaining? Yeah, so there's no, I've not missed anything. There's no way to create, there's no command to create traits. Yeah, so the problem is up trait. No namespace. This namespace, we created it very nicely. Yeah, let me just confirm it. We just replace to just make sure you're doing the right thing. So we created it very nicely, so we are okay with that. Then using this, we just used it in a very pretty way. Okay, let's try running this composer autoload to see. Probably the autoload didn't incorporate our our trait into the app itself. Let me see. Let me just confirm with that. Then from there, we should have this trait of ours working. Yeah. Yes. So let me see. Yeah. So let me try the last time. We see if this one will work. Let me see. Trait not found. Let me try say trait not found. Let me see what are the reasons. Trait not found. Let's see what are the reasons that our trait is not found. Dump autoload, we have done that. Dump autoload, we have done that. Wait a minute. Where did we put our folder? It's inside up and then traits. Up and then this is the mistake. So this folder, it's triads. We didn't really name it well. So this one we need to rename these. So rename these to traits. We said triads instead of traits. Yeah. So that one should work. That was a bug. Sorry for that typo. So if you do that, you'll find that our response will come as status forward 3 message this one, then data, this is our data. So we have formatted it well, and you can see this is 402. Even here it's 402 payment required. But now for our case, we don't need to pass that as 402, maybe 201 or something like that. So I'll just rename these to 200. Yeah. So if we say that is 200 and then we try again, we'll find that it will say 200, and also here it's 200. So the headers are set to 200, and also we have the status given as 200. So this is a complete standard API, the way it's supposed to be, the industrial level of APIs, RESTful APIs. So let's create for the rest. Like for example, we want an error message. Not every time we'll have a success. So let's say if we have an error here, you can say for an error, just have the data here as the error itself. So we just call this error and then have the message and the status. So when you're calling this class, what you'll just be doing, you'll just say if this one, for example, if let's see, so if this one exists, so let's say if this ID is there, so if for example this if student is set, let's do this. Let's say find and then say if this one is set, if the resource is there. Just want to show you how to use the number of so if the resource is set, return that, else return this. So if this one is found, return this. So this one now is without using the error handler. This now is we want a specific message. So this one you can just say this one will return a success. So this one will just say return, if it exists, return a success. This dot success. Let's say this dot success, not dot, sorry, I'm coming out of JavaScript, dot success response, and then you say data is data, message is student found successfully. Copy this or cut it to here, and then you say status is 200. That's it. You have done that. So you have replaced. So you can see our code now becomes cleaner, and we don't actually repeat ourselves. So the code becomes much easier. Then in case of an error, return an error response, and this error response also do the same. Give us the data, say this one was not found, student not found, and then give us 404. So let's try it out. This one we just have to select this and add a semicolon. That's it. So this will return our resource, not data, sorry. So this is a resource, and this one, because we don't have any resource, so you can return your array here, your array of errors. Say if you're having multiple errors you want to show. So let's try that API out for show student. Let's say we deleted student number 1. Let's try showing this student. So you'll find it will give us now this error 404, student not found. If we have a student, let's say 3, who is existing, it should be able to give us the success, 200 student found. That's the standard way, up and down, go up and down. That's the standard way of doing the show API. Yep, amazing. So we are done with a number of topics. We have done exceptions, we have done trades, and yeah, we have completed our APIs. So that's the complete way of doing the APIs. So let me show you one more thing, how we do custom APIs. For example, we want to get total score So let's say public function. This is just an extra to get you to show you just the extension of this, how you can use it. So you can say public function get total scores, total scores scored by all the students. Yeah, for example, this is a custom method which is not in the resource API. So I can say this one, I want to get the total scores. So how do I do it? I just come here and say scores is equals to all the students. I want to find all the students, and then dot you can say get all, but now what I just want to say is just get the sum of something out of the students. So all of the students get the sum of score. Yeah, I think that one should give us some data. So how to test your API pretty quick, you just say dd and then you say score. dd scores, that one is die and dump score. So let's try. So we haven't created this route, let's create it in our API. We just say in here create this route. Let's say create this route called total score. So now how will we do it? Say total score, we just call that route total score, and then here now it will not be a resource. So let's say it's a get request or maybe a post request or wherever you want it to be. So you just say get total score, and then you just now here you need to add this and close with another one here. But before that, now you add this method of yours. So that's how we create a custom route. So this is a get request, and then it will go to student controller and then find this. If you control and click, it will take you to the exact method. That means if you have the installed PHP IntelliSense and IntelliFence, look for those two plugins. That one will help you navigate this PHP IntelliFence, and also you can do PHP IntelliSense. This one, right? Where is it? Somewhere here. There's PHP IntelliSense. So those two will help you go to navigate the way I'm doing. I can just say control and then it will show me where the method is. I can pretty quickly click and run into this method. So that means I've configured it well. Let's try it out. Say total score. Let's go to our Postman. So here what I'll just need to do is just create a new request, or let me save this one as save as, let's say total score. Let's say score of all the students, and now my route will not be students but rather total score. So it will be API slash total score, and then it's a get request. So once I run that, you'll find that this one will display for me. So die and dump will give me whatever the data I want. So this is 225. So you'll find if you run all the students, the total score for all these students, it has added to 25 plus 75 plus 25 plus 0 plus 25 blah 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 blah, and it has given us a result of 225.25. So now let's format that so that in a pretty way we can see that response. So I'll just go to this function and then I'll just say this. So right now we don't have to repeat ourselves. Yeah, we just say this dot success response, and then what's the data? The data is the score. So you just say score, and then what's the message? Maybe score calculated, and then what's the status is 200, and then you close this, and so you remove this, and then you have to return this. So you just say return. That's it. So once you're done with that, this one should be able to give us the exact but remember this data of ours probably, yeah, so you can see here we are having that API running. The status is 200, message is stock calculated, and then we have our, so we have used two things. This one is called Laravel eloquent aggregate method. So there's average. You can find the average of all those scores. If you run this one, it will give you an average of 28 point something something. You can find wherever you can find a maximum, the maximum within it, So those are called Laravel uh, Laravel aggregate methods. So these Laravel aggregate methods, they are like they are like average, max, minimum, which other one? Yeah, so all these stuff, just to mention a few, these are called Laravel aggregate methods. So you can read about many of them and you'll see how they are supposed to help you in doing your your stuff. So for example, in here, assuming now you want to get the total percentage, maybe we just want to, or you want to multiply it by something. I just want to show you how we can pass parameter here. Maybe we can say maybe pass a currency here. We say the currency is in Kenya shillings, something like that, assuming the score is in Kenya shillings. Or maybe we are doing money or something like that, so you want to pass something here like the currency. So how this one will make this one be possible? If right now you run it, you'll find that our custom blah blah blah. So this one is 404. So our error 404 gave us this and said this root does not exist. So let's take care of that. So you just come here. How you pass parameters is you come here and say I want this parameter, and you can put it as a mandatory or an optional. So an optional you put with a question mark, but a required one you just say this one is a currency. Research for the option one on Laravel, so that at least you have some assignment to do. So this one, once you pass this currency, so right now if I try to run this, you will find that it will now run because we have added a parameter and we have specified in the root that we are expecting something out of that. So let's add that currency on our response. So you just come here and say this is the score. So you want this score. Before you display that score, just add something, add this currency. But now we need to pick this currency from the root. So you just say this variable currency, and then you pick it there. You say this currency, you add it here. You say currency concatenate with score, or maybe concatenate with a space and then score. So let's see how that one will be. So this one will display for you Kenya shillings 22 now as a string. So you can say even this one is USD. If you change it to USD, it will be giving you USD blah blah blah. So that's how you're using parameters in all. Now this is the query parameters. But now for these body parameters, what we just be doing is you just add the parameters here and then say this one is request. For example, let's use one. Let's do one. Let's say this one is post total score. We don't expect any input. We just say or maybe get maybe something like that. We just say or score post, yeah, score post score post, something like that. So you just need to say this one is a post request or a put or a patch or whatever, and then once you just have it as this one, now if it's a post request you can now receive this. So what you just do, you just go to your function and say here, instead of this query parameter, you just say request. So you just pick request. This is HTTP support facade, and then you call it you add it to your request name. You say request, the same way we are doing on other APIs. Like you can see on this, the way it was done on this request that's the same way you'll do on this. And then if you dump this request, you'll find your exact request. So I'll leave it as that so that it doesn't confuse you. And also this one, I'll do away with this example. And so that's where we are. So far so good. I think we are done. There's nothing really very important that I wanted you to learn. You have learned how to add parameters. So there's something about middlewares. Those ones I'll do on it's not necessarily like is a must to use middleware, but at an advanced level you'll be able to use middlewares. So go through that, and probably if you have any question, maybe you can ask for my support, but I'll do that in advanced tutorials. So that's for that one. HTTP client, let me see. Database, we have done all the so there's something called paginations here. You can also do pagination. For example, let's go to these students and say on these students we want to paginate these. Maybe there are more than 2 classes, but I want to paginate them into 2. So you can just say, instead of getting all the students, you can just say paginate, and then you say paginate to 2 students. So let's test this, you see what will happen. So previously we were getting all this data in one response. Now notice that there are some of the fields which will be added here. Like these are just 3 keys: status, message, and data. But notice that if I run it right now, it will add some more keys. It will add some more keys. No, inside here, inside the data itself. Let me I can't revert it, but not outside here, but inside the data itself. So you'll find that previously you were just having this data, but because we have formatted this API, that's why we have all other these added fields, like the current page. So this is current page 1. This is the first page URL. You see there is something added here. This is the second page URL, blah blah blah, and then we have extra links. And then this is where now you can add things like your metadata, previous page, the total number of pages. So if you paginate, it will automatically do this. And this one is mainly used when you're having a lot of data, like 1,000 of data. So you just need to paginate it so that to make your APIs much quick. So it will just display the first 2. And then if I want page 2, I'll just come here and say the same way where we are having, you see this is the first page, there's the next page. You see the next page, it's the same API, and then it will give you a link and say page is equals to 2. So if you click on this, it should take you to page number 2. So this is where now you create, whenever you're doing that pagination, below your table you have that page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these links, you just add these links onto those buttons, those pagination buttons. So for example, I want page 2, so I'll just say page is equals to 2. That's this second API. If you run that, it will now go to 4 and 5. If you want page 3, you just go to page 3, it will do 4 and 5. So that's the simple way we do pagination. So try it out on yourself and see how that one works. Let's just confirm that there's nothing you're missing. We did this. Redis is basically a way you can save your data. You can save your requests. It's just like a distributed cache system. So you can just learn through that. Eloquent, you have done everything. There's something called relationships. I'm not willing to do that right now. What do you think? Let me check first if there's no any other thing that we are we are leaving aside. I'll just do that. Yeah, so I think if we don't have any other thing, I can just do that last bit of routing, middleware, controller, responses, views. I think we have covered the basics that we really need to know in the basics. The first hand. So you can just go step by step. These documentation are very well, like adding file system, adding files and whatever. Those are just some of the things that if you know how to read well the documentation the way I've just shown you, you can even do this authentication and authorization. I'll be recording now these ones as different topics. So let me do this last one called let me just do this last one called relationships, and then we are done with that. So for example, let me create another table called courses. Let me just do it fast as you follow, and then you'll do on your own. So let's say we are doing now relationships. How do we do it? So for example, let me create a table called courses, PHP artisan course. Let's say each student has one course they are doing. So or let me do this. Let me say a book. Let's say PHP artisan create migration. We say no, PHP artisan. I'm forgetting. I think my mind is going. It's pretty tired. Make migration, and then create books table. And then in this books table I just pretty say books table this books table, I just want it to have a name here. Yeah, just say let it just have a name as a string. Yeah, so I'll just say string or character to save space on the disk, then say 255, and then description, which is not details, which is really, or author or whatever the things that you want to add, which I'll say this one is not mandatory, so I'll just say it's nullable. So that's my table. But then I want, or under the students table, I want to add book ID or something like that. I just want to do a simple, let's say this student has one book. Yeah, I just want to do a simple relationship so that you can learn from the rest. You can learn through the rest by yourself. So I'll just create a new, and then this one's supposed to be big integer, because this ID is created as big integer if you checked on the tables that you're having, when you check on the table structure, and then say book ID, for example, and then this one now is supposed not to be that way, and then this one you might say now this one is required. And remember what we had on our, now if you're adding a book, let's say a student might, it's not a mandatory that a student has a book, so you say it's nullable. So once you add this, remember on students model, on students under students model, you need to add book ID so that it's fillable, so that we can update it, and then that's it on this. So I'll just do a fresh migration, and then we test now our, so this one I'll need to create this model. So let me just php artisan make model, and then I'll create a model for, just create a model for books. Let's just say books, then you can create books controller, blah blah blah, whatever you want. Then I'll just go onto the books, and then I create a fillable here, just say protected fillable, and then I'll give it, there's two things, this name and this description, right? Or details, was it details or description? It was details. Yeah, so you just say details. So that's it, we are done with that migration. Now let's create a relationship of student to these books. So first let me just run my migration afresh. Let me find this command, I run afresh and I seed. So let's see, let's try first see all the students. So we paginated our students. So right now, do we have a student? Really say our data is empty. Did we do a seeding? Seeder ren. So in our student, let me remove that pagination so that we have something, or rather let me just comment this one out for pagination, and then I just say that all here to just make this response a bit clean so that it's easy to read. Yeah, so these are the students, but now remember we have this book ID. So let's update student number something. Let's update student number 2 to have a book ID number 1. So first we need to add a book, so that one we can just do it using a migration or something like that, or rather, yeah, so we can just let's create a migration so that we learn through the, instead of adding directly into the database. Let's add a seeder, sorry. So make seeder, make seeder, then this seeder is a books table seeder, right? It's the nice way to do this. Say book table seeder, sorry for this, book table seeder. So once we are done with this book table seeder, let's go find it, and then in here we just say book, because we have the model, we just say book dot create, right? And then you just say book name, for example, book name, the river between, and then details, maybe author, or maybe whatever the thing that you're adding. This one should be an array, so just add that inside an array, and then say details is that, and then close this. So that's the first book. These books, you need to import these books model and then add a number. Say number 2 is gloomy wife, for example. Details not mandatory, but gloomy wife story, something like that. Say something like that. The enemy of the people, for example. If there's such a book, then you say this is the enemy of the people. Yep. So once we are done with that, we can now run these seeders again. Then so we'll have a number of books created. No, remember we were supposed to add this onto database seeder. So remember this step, we are supposed to call it here so that it appears. So I'll just do this pretty quickly and then I'll run my seeders. So once I run it like that, you can see now this seeder ran. So at least I'm having some books to work with. So let's now add these students. Let's add the books for them. Let's add some. Let's say student number 2, because right now student number 2 doesn't have any book ID. So let's add book ID number 1 to student number 2. So I'll just say number 2 update, then add book ID. Say he's owning book number 1, for example. Let me update. So if I update to see book ID number 1, now let's, instead of this, let's now display the book itself inside here. So what we'll be saying is we just close everything here. Just go to the book, the student model. So in here we want to create relationship, right? Yeah, we had this one as one. So how you do is just like a function. You just say public function. You say book. A student owns a book, so you just say book, and then inside this book you'll just have to return something. So what you'll return is this slash. So there's these relationship methods in Laravel, so I'll use has one. So these are just to create relationships. So once you say has one, it will tell you put the related model and then the foreign key and then the local key. So how it will appear is the local key is this book ID, then the foreign key will be ID. So you can just say books, this is the model dot class, for example, and then after that books we have ID, and then our local key is this book ID. So that one will definitely create for you this related record. It will have this book here. So how do we display it on our controller? So let's go to student controller and display it. I'll just show you an easier way. There are way also you can use API resources. So learn about API resources. There's a way you can format that response, but for me I don't want that. So I just want to simply add that here. So I'll just say students, and then there's this function called with. So I can say student with. Then here you can add a number of related data. So you can just, if there are a number, you can just say this and then say you add these relations. Yeah, you add like books or something like that. If it's one, you don't need this bracket. So if there are books, there are teachers, and there are trainers, probably there are courses, you can add multiple there. But if it's one, you can just do like this, just say with, or even say with these books, and then say use another with, use like with books, say with trainer. Yeah, you can do that, or put them in an array. So that's just more information on it. So you can just say books. So let's see how this one goes. So let's get all the students again and see. So this builder can't accept now all. It will now need to say get, because now we are using some related data. So let's see. So in here you'll find student number 1, they don't have a book ID, so no book attached to them. But when you go to student number 2, you'll find there's a book, which is the river between. So you feel that now we have a related data added into our books, into our collection. So when you're doing API resources, you learn about the collection. So that's important also to know that this one is a collection. If I'm pulling one book only, for example, this show, this is one collection, yeah. So this is what we call collections. So probably I'll do a course on that also. But now this is what I wanted you to show. So even you can add, maybe let's add book number 3 to this student ID 1. So let me just do an update. I say student ID 1. Don't update their name, don't update their address, don't update their score, but update their book ID. Give them book ID number 3. So let me try that. The name is required. So why did we put the name as required on this update? It's not a must. So you can say, you can go to update and say on these rules, this one is not required. You can have it or lack it, yeah. So let's do that. The address field is required, is not on update. It's just required on create, yeah. Yeah, so you'll find that this student Alex Bill is still there. The scores and everything still the same, but the book ID is added as 3. But now remember, it's not giving us the book because we have not said with. Under this update, we have not said with. So if you want it also to come here, we can say with, right? You can just say with, and then it will give you that response with that. So that's it. So let's pull it back. Let's go to all the students and see. So student number 1 has been added a book ID number 3, as you can see. So that's how we are doing relationships. So there are a number of relationships. I just showed you one. So just go back to this and find the others. Like there's one-to-one relationship, there's one-to-many. Like the ones I've done is just one-to-one. There's one-to-many, inverse. There's has many. So I just used has one, but pretty it will just come the same way. Like I've just used this has one. You might also not specify the rest of the field, because if they are named the same, that one also you can learn it through here, the deeper meaning of that. So there's has one, there's belongs to, there's belongs to many, there's a number of has many, there's a number of relationships. So just go. This one needs at least you to take your time and go through them one by one, bit by bit, and then that's how you'll now be able to see that. So thank you guys, that has been amazing. That has been one of a kind of a tutorial. So I'll be picking up your questions on the comment section, but for this one we are done with Laravel APIs, RESTful APIs. So let's move on to the next tutorial. So cheers and goodbye.